All Ears on Content Creators is brought to you by The Foxhaven. Learn more about their diverse community at thefoxhaven.net. Take it away, Cyfir!
Welcome to All Ears on Content Creators, the show where we give the best, not so well known content creators a voice to share their passions. I'm your host, Cyfir, and here with me today, as always, is our beloved fox, Slava.
Thanks, Cyfir. It's always a pleasure to be here.
The pleasure is mine. Hello out there. You're listening to All Ears. Well, our guest today will be Hydrophonics. He is a DJ and a music producer. He is currently based in New York and will be moving to Austin, Texas in the near future. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you, Cyfir. It's good being on the show. Thank you, Slava. You furry fuzzball, you.
Yeah, welcome to All Ears, Hydro. It's great to have you here.
Well, it's good to be on the show. I mean, I'm good. I feel really good that, you guys are helping people like me out, because I'm only locally known, but I'm not internationally known. So, I mean, it's a start.
Yeah, and that's what really the show is about. Giving content creators a voice. We can go ahead and start asking questions. What got you started in what you do, basically?
Well, honestly, that goes back at least 5 years ago when I started listening to Deadmau5. Deadmau5 was like, it was the top-rated thing on YouTube, and I wanted to see what it was. And at the time, I went to classic rock and all that kind of stuff. And I guess when it really started is when I started listening to 4 times 4 equals 12, that album. It really started to inspire me, to make me believe that I could actually, do something like this. So I started looking up programs that would help me, achieve that kind of goal, and I found FL Studio. It was actually FL Studio 9 at the time, versus what it is now. It's FL Studio 12. But I started working off that, making mixes, making original mixes, and obviously they weren't that good. But we all got to start somewhere. So I guess to answer your question, it'd be 5 years ago. Started listening to Deadmau5, and he got me into it. He's honestly my inspiration. Even though he's a dick, he's a funny dick. So
I've seen plenty of funny dicks. So, what is it that you enjoy the most about DJing?
It's honestly the hot seat. You're the control of the dance floor. You're what makes the party going on. Basically, when you're in front of a crowd, a bunch of people, and they're drinking, they're having a good time, certain variables can happen to end that party. It's your job as the DJ to keep people happy. Nobody wants a DJ to just come up and, play songs that they don't even know. I mean, I've done that before. It doesn't work out fine. But when you have a good crowd, they like the music that you're providing, and it's just an all-around good vibe. Great technicians on the side, too. I gotta thank the Fuse Box for helping me out there. We had fog machines, lasers, we had strobe lights, different kinds of lighting effects in general. It was just an all-around good environment, and I really enjoyed it. But to be honest, it's the passion, the burning passion of spreading good vibes to other people. Maybe having them, have an encounter or two that they've never experienced before. So,
awesome. Have you always been interested in DJing, or was there a moment where you were like, okay, this is what I want to do? Or
Honestly, this was not what I had planned on doing. When I was younger, I actually wanted to be an actor, and I realized I couldn't act. Then I wanted to become a singer, and I realized, well, I've got a good voice, but I can't really, I can't really think of any lyrics. I'm not that intuitive. Then I wanted to become a public speaker, and oh boy, that go down the toilet really fast.
Right. I understand that because that's one of the things I really enjoy about DJing. You don't have to have a good voice or really be like a really, could produce your own music basically to do it. You do have to mix well. But
You also have to have a really good ear, which is
yeah.
what I have. I'm good at listening, even though my mother, she thinks otherwise. Because I'm a horrible listener. But
I've
quite the
always wanted
contrary.
to. Oh, go ahead.
Quite the contrary, I've got really good ears, especially with tunes. You can go ahead, Slava.
I've always wanted to ask someone like you, what do you feel is the difference between DJs that can produce and DJs that can't produce?
I think the major difference is you can really look for everything in a track. Like, especially with me, since I've produced big room tracks, I can look and see where the breaks are. I can see where, the other DJs have put a chorus, a drop. I can see all of that right as I see the track. Whereas DJs who are starting out, they don't produce, they're going to look for more of, okay, where the hell can I transition the song, if I can say that? Where am I going to make this fit? Where I can just go, okay, 4 bars to a measure. I've got 16 bars left. Let's go ahead and transition the song. It's going to sound good, and it usually does. Sometimes it doesn't because I'm not always keen on beat matching all the time. There's a lot of room for human error, but most of the time I make the transition, it sounds good, and I keep going. I keep going. I don't let anything stop me. Even if I, screw up and end up, loading a different song, a song onto the same track that I'm playing, I'll still keep going. I'll still keep having fun. It's not going to stop me.
I have one more related question. If I don't space out and forget what the hell I was going to say. Hell. Do you think that being able to produce is something that takes a certain amount of both talent and skill? Do you feel like it's more of an investment in time as far as learning skill to produce, or do you think that it's more important that someone has natural talent to bring to that table?
I think that there's a little bit of both mixed into that, because I did have a natural talent for composing, but I didn't know how to mix. I didn't know how to mix down the track. It actually took me a little while to figure out how to mix down a track. Once I started making online and Booty Smack, I started learning how to mix down the track, and that's where it will make or break your song, because you can't have clipping in the song. Obviously, if one instrument is a little bit higher in decibels than the other one, then it's going to sound a little bit weird. So you have to have everything on an equal level, to where your decibels are about at the same level, especially when it comes to producing. And I think that's where you can have a natural talent, but you're going to have to learn some things along the way. So to answer your question, yes and no. You can have a natural talent for producing, but you have to learn a lot of other stuff like mixing, composing, hell, even making original stuff from things like just sounds that you record on the fly for for me, I would record some sounds. Sometimes I'd be on a bus. I'd click like I would click. This is actually what I did for online. I'd click the metal part of the seat, and it makes a ping sound. And I recorded that on my phone, cleaned up the audio on Audacity, put it on FL Studio, and I started making like a backbeat for online. And you'll actually hear that if you listen to the song. You hear like metal clinking. And some of those are my pings, and then some of them are like, from my friend's folder where he found different metal clanks. We just put them together. But yeah, it takes a lot of practice.
I absolutely love when musicians do that kind of work. Related example, there was I'm not going to bring up names, but there was another group that I like to listen to, and one of the things that they're known for is creating their kicks by beating on styrofoam. So I get where you're coming from. That kind of stuff really, I get a kick out of that. No pun intended.
So, would you like to talk about any past gigs or experiences meeting unnamed popular DJs?
And yeah, to add to that, you talked about, what was it, Fusebox before? If you'd like to elaborate on that for people who aren't familiar.
All right, so the Fusebox is a very popular club in Albany, New York. See, right next to the Fusebox is a convention center, the Armory. And sometimes we'd have some really cool people come in there. I'm not going to bring out any names, but I got to meet some people. And a lot of the artists that I met threw me way off to their personality. Some of them were really cool, and some of them were, typical Hollywood jerks. But I would have to say the people who were most cool were the people who were more recent, because they just, started coming into like the, professional. I'm a professional now. I can proudly say I'm a professional, but I still have to, be faithful to my fans kind of people. And those were the people I would more respect than the people who, totally lost connection to their fans, didn't really give a crap about the music, just made music, made money, and that's all they really cared about. To me, if I'm professional, I would rather be loyal to my fans than make a lot of money. And I know that sounds really crazy, but honestly, your fans can make or break you. So... But yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good way of looking at it.
So then you must have a favorable opinion of those producers that decide to release their music on the internet for free or for a donated amount.
I do like the producers who, release their stuff for free when they have like a certain number of fans, because they're giving back to the community. But then there's those people who are only just doing it to get like, sponsorships. And that's where I kind of, lean towards, like, I get why you're doing it, but it's just like such, I'd like to say scummy, like a scummy way of doing it. But, if people want to do that, that's their opinion. It's not my, decision. I'm not one to judge. So. Yeah, that's about it.
Awesome. Well, you can find some of his work at mixcloud.com/official hydrophonics. That's official, HYDROPHONICS.
You can also find me on SoundCloud.
Yes.
As well. That's where you're going to find a lot of my original tracks. I do allow some of them to be freely downloaded. So.
And he's also... Oh, go ahead.
You can catch me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. But I'm pretty sure Cyfir is going to elaborate on that, so I'm giving it away to Cyfir.
Yep. You can find his original works on SoundCloud, where he is the official Hydrophonics, without the of course. We'll have that in the show notes.
I actually just played a little bit of a sample from it. As we've been talking here, I've actually been pulling up some of his stuff and showing it for anybody who is watching the video portion of the podcast later.
Awesome. Please note to listeners that I can't see what Slava is seeing on his side.
I could put up porn and he would never know. I could put on my webcam and just be totally naked and like dancing with parts flapping around while you guys are talking and being like, and ask you questions. So,
it's like another version of meatspin.com.
Do you like music? Mutes my mic. Sorry, I'm being unprofessional. Anyway, go ahead, Cyfir.
That's okay. You mentioned earlier before the show that you were using Serato recently and that you really like it. Could you tell us more about that?
Well, for me, I'm going to go back to the roots that started my DJ trail. When I first, I started playing Second Life because, I was a socially awkward kid. At 17, it's actually at 16, I joined Second Life. I think it was June 25th, 2012. And I was just... Oh, yes. That was actually... that happened, too. And I would swear sometimes that I'd get kicked out. To be honest, it started with Sam. I started doing... Some clubs were more lenient than others that let, me come in, experience. They're like, you're old enough to, figure out that your, thing works, so we'll let you come in. But I started using Sam. I started working here in this studio. Well, this actually was, was here. It was here. I started working in this studio. I was using Sam, just a computer, a couple of tracks. Not really a big deal. And then I started, getting really into it. And once I started making tracks, I'm like, oh, I see all these DJs, making music, but they're also, mixing. And that's something I think I need to learn. So for my 17th birthday, I asked my father, can you get me a Newmark iDJ3, which I still have. It's just broken now. But that was my starting into the EDM business. I had it for like 2 years. It was great to me. It came with Virtual DJ limited edition. So I started using that. And then I bought the Virtual DJ, full edition. And then recently, like last Christmas, I ended up getting a Newmark Mixtrack Pro 3, and that just rocked my freaking world. Like, it was great. I started doing more professional, transitions. Started using a filter a lot more. The effects were available on demand, and I even had a beat pad. Like, that was crazy. I still have it sitting right next to me. It's blinking. It's doing its little thing. When you leave it on for a couple of minutes and, like, you haven't touched it, it will go into an idle mode where it'll just start, like, strobing all the different lights and variations of oranges and blues and purples and reds. When I started using Serato, it was a cleaner audio, and I started noticing that, especially when I started doing transitions. I was about to say transmission, changing a car transmission, totally. But I started noticing that there was more clean transitions. The audio just sounded a lot better than Virtual DJ. There was less clipping. especially when I'd use, and I know no DJ wants to hear this come out of their mouth. A lot of DJs use key lock. We're just gonna put it there. We use key lock. It happens. Sorry. But I noticed when I used it, it sounded a lot cleaner. You couldn't really tell I was using key lock, but it would make it all the difference. And I guess with Serato, honestly, I have to say Serato has really impressed me. For most of for a while, I had to use a flash drive and use other people's DJ systems. I started developing a systems like, okay, I'll go do this gig, use somebody's computer, DJ is set, and then I'll go home. But recently, I actually fixed my computer, so I'm able to do much more with Serato. I overclocked it a little bit too, and I also, installed a much better fan for it, even though it still clicks, but that's because there's pieces lying around inside there and I have to get them out. But it's a very ghetto computer, honestly. You want to see bedroom producing at its finest, it's right here. I mean, I have 2 stickers on the front that say disobey with anonymous mask. I have Resident Evil characters on the side from Resident Evil 6. I have Vape Lounge stickers on the other side.
So he's got anonymous characters from Resident Evil that vape in his computer. That's what's shaking around in there.
It's on the front of the computer. So when I actually open up the laptop, you see all the stickers. You're just like, holy crap! What is this guy even thinking?
Yeah. From what I noticed with, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, but it's just like my personality just showing off the computer,
Yeah. What I noticed with Serato, it's much easier to mix in it because you're seeing all the bars going horizontally down from each other, so you can kind of see where the wavelengths are and stuff much easier than in virtual DJ. I'm not sure if that's your experience or not, but that's just been mine.
My experience is I like to try to use my ears often. Even if I try to fuck up, I try to use my ears. And that's what I've actually been told this before by many DJs. If you're not using your ears in a set, then what the I mean, excuse me, what are you doing?
You
I almost said
fuck. I just said fuck.
Okay.
But I guess honestly you are correct. You can see the waveforms a lot more easier indefinitely. But for me, I like hot cues. Hot cues are my thing right now. I like putting hot cues anywhere I can put them. I'll slap them in the front, in the middle, in the end. Slava just got a kick out of that, but no, I'll put them, in places where they need to be. So if I want to transition a song easily, that's what I use. I use a hot cue.
Awesome.
But mostly it's manual and auto looping. When I mean manual, sometimes the songs come up as instead of 128, they'll come up as 96 BPM, which is a pain. But I'll use a manual loop, and I'll just keep looping the track until I can transition it. And then once I do, it sounds all right. And when I'm talking about for using my ears, I'll remember the tracks that I use, so I can beat match. I'll remember what key they're in. So if they're in F major, if they're in G major, G sharp, augmented, diminished, all those kinds of things. It's just, I keep an eye out for them so that I can, transition them with other songs that are related to it, or I can transition it to a chord. So there's a lot of music history in this as well. Like DJing, especially live mixing, you have to know, your keys indefinitely. So
Right.
that's why I took a music history class in high school. Figured, I'm going to be going into this. Why not? And it actually helped me out. So, yeah.
All right. So on to the next question. What do you plan on doing with your passion for DJing and music production in the future?
Honestly, I plan on going to college. I plan on hopefully, impressing somebody so they can throw me a bone later on in life. And starting a business, actually starting a record company. If that, I already had the business map, rolled out. The company is going to be called Electric Flow. That's spelled with a K instead of a C for electric, and just spelled FLO, like Flo, the progressive lady. But
I want to copyright that now.
I think yeah, you might want to copyright that now, and I think there's more than a handful of people that would like to see Flo be electrified.
But no, I'll probably get it copyrighted soon. And if not, I'll figure some different name out. I mean, I already have the roadmap set out, and I'm not gonna lay out any more details. All I can say is that that's either gonna be the definite name, or I'm gonna change it. So, yeah, planning on getting my maybe 2 years of fame, and then maybe 3, and then hoping to settle down, maybe find a wife, or a partner in that situation, and
find me a woman, folk.
But no, I'm thinking about once I have money, settle down, have kids, and I know people say the American dream is corrupted now, but honestly, all I have to say is that, like, if you put your mind to it, you can really accomplish anything.
Right. Well, we're nearing the close. I've got like 1 minute on my timer, but we can go a little bit over that if we need to. But we have a couple more questions that we wanted to ask. Slava, did you want to ask the next one? Okay.
Yeah. Do you have any advice? Like any one piece of advice that's more important than anything else for that you would like to impart to aspiring producers and DJs?
All I have to say to you guys is that keep the passion in your music. Never really give up on that creative passion. That passion is going to spark or ignite what is going to be your track. So if you keep the passion in the track, it's gonna sound good. Other than that, all I have to say is study, practice, and that's about it.
Awesome. Is there anything else you want to say to your fans?
All I have to say is that I'm gonna be in Austin soon, and I'm hopefully gonna be getting some gigs there. So if there's any fans in Austin that want to come check me out, want to hang out, maybe grab something to eat or something like that, it'd be cool. I mean, I really, I was a very, socially awkward kid growing up, so I really wouldn't care if people came up, but yeah.
Awesome. Well, DJ Hydrophonics can be located on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. We'll have the links up, possibly in the video that Slava is doing. And
All Ears is a production of the Foxhaven Broadcasting Network. All audiovisual elements contained in our podcast are public domain, fair use, used with permission, or owned by the Foxhaven. Make sure to check back soon for more episodes. This is Slava, signing off.